Greetings, HMC friends. And today I pray that you know the presence of God that is with you. In the last 3 days, our world has been turned upside down again, and especially as South Africans. And I know that these days have changed many plans, and there are many that we know who are facing great disappointment and pain. And the reality of the separateness that COVID brings to us is so real once again. And so today, when I say, I pray that you know the presence of God with you, that indeed in that you would know God is with you. We live in an age where we have an overload of information. You can go onto the internet and get information about anything, and sometimes the weirdest and the wackiest things. There are so many people who now have the ability to share their views, their points, the things that they believe. And we are often left in a quandary, having to decide what is true and what is not. It always amazes me that people will receive a WhatsApp message, and because it's come from their friend and it's a WhatsApp message, it has to be the truth. And we have this terrible problem where people pass it on, and often it's just false knowledge. Or as the common term is, fake news. However, when we look at this, we realize that we need to find a balance. I apologize in advance to my mathematician teacher. I've said it before, I still don't understand why x minus y equals z. And there is a point that I do understand that is very important, that someone understands it for our world to tick today. And so there comes a place where I need to put faith in those mathematicians. And so like the writer to the Hebrews, and in chapter 11, reading at verse 1 says, "Now faith is being sure of what we hope for, and certain of what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible." But I don't believe in blind faith. I do know that those mathematicians need others to check up on them. And so hence we have people who are auditors, actuaries, where checks and balances, that's a good figure word, can be tested out. And so I believe it is the same with our faith. That there are moments that we need to come to the place to be able to say, God, I don't understand all of this. I don't understand why, or maybe even how. But there's a moment that I trust. And yet, as I said earlier, I don't believe that there's just blind trust. There's a moment where we need to get aside and maybe speak to somebody who really knows the facts. And so I wouldn't like the cardiac surgeon to be the bank manager. And I certainly wouldn't like the bank manager to be the cardiac surgeon. And so we sometimes need to look in the right places. We sometimes need to find out for ourselves, but sometimes we need to trust that the person who knows what they're talking about can lead us and guide us. And that's a huge balancing act. And I do believe that faith is a balancing act. Trusting God, finding out, so that we can come to a place of security to be able to say, this is where I'll put my trust. So we need to have an active faith. A faith that asks, but a faith that lets go. That all seems contrary to itself. However, there is a moment when we need to come and let go and say, God, I trust you. And so in all this change, and even though all our plans have changed, we come today to say, Lord, we trust that you have a way for us. And so lead us and guide us. And friends, as this new variant comes along, just keep those masks on, keep sanitizing, and keep trusting in God, for God is the way. Take care, and God bless.